over the air. Remarkable.
If a German Messerschmitt comes past, mount it on the tripod, high angle shots. Check the magazine, getting a couple of stoppages there. And the reason for the top mounted magazine is to allow gravity to assist with the chambering of the ammunition. Well, gravity's not doing its thing at the moment.
Good morning guys, it's something different today. I've always fancied coming to Wrest Park because it's an area where we've been before, the likes of Stowe. It's got that Downton Abbey feel. The actual grounds, they're absolutely huge. They go back to the 1400s. But today there's a specific event happening. It's called Wrest at War. So you've got war reenactments from the Second World War with the Allies taking on obviously the Germans. You've got encampments of the First World War. It's truly fascinating stuff to see all these replica weapons, the machinery, the history buffs talking about what went on. So it's going to be a bit different for sure, but we're going to do it. So come and join us. Classic home guard there, very much your dad's army.
The kind of uniform that Irvin Rommel would have worn when he was commanding in Normandy.
Don't know why guys, but I'm getting the vibes of Indiana Jones here. Sorry if the wind's going to affect the sound, it is a bit blowy today. This is the German field camp, and ironically, yes, that is a VW Beetle, because that's where a lot of your vehicles, your Volkswagen, your Mercedes and ex-essential vehicles like that, all come from developments within the First and the Second World War. These will be your German field troops. There's a mine now, your machine guns. Fantastic, some of this equipment. All original, probably doctored so they can't fire proper rounds, more of a blank, should we say. That will make a severe rattling noise when that goes off. As I said, these are the sort of vehicles you watch Indiana Jones and he goes through the window and he's hanging off the front of the vehicle. It just reminds me of that. But I'm saying that's probably a 50 cal in the back there. Machine gun set up. Do love these classic motorcycle and sidecar. Both the British and the Germans had them. But that is an incredible bit of kit. Those of you who remember The Great Escape, Steve McQueen, that is the form of motorcycle that he would have used to jump the fence, and actually he was well within his capabilities of doing it himself, because he was selected for the American team for the Motocross of the Nations, because he was actually that good on a dirt bike. But I believe it was obviously all his team around him that stopped him doing it, because he's a major film star and he didn't want to get him injured. Hope the German officers were happy with his parking, otherwise he's likely to get shot.
Come on along, let me take you by the hand. Up to the van, up to the van.
A much larger encampment for your British and Allied troops with your howitzers and field guns. The girls, the office team, working together, decoding information. This is all your likes of what Bletchley Park was all about.
A bit of background in history. So before World War II, most women looked after the home. They were doing very traditional roles, nursing, shops, or a domestic servant if they did work. So working in the army was certainly not the usual thing. But there was a labour shortage by the time World War II came along. Obviously, lots of men all signing up, going off to do different roles, and so we needed more women to step up and start taking on board some of the roles that traditionally the men have been doing. So women started on a voluntary basis at the beginning, so they started to volunteer to do some of the essential jobs as part of the war work and war effort.
You can only guesstimate the power and the noise that thing would make it when it went off, but I'm sure there'll be demonstrations later where you actually hear them with improvised explosions, etc. A lot different to your guns of your First World War, which are a bit more archaic, and obviously that's where the likes of obviously the creators, the guys behind the technical excellence behind Warhorse, they're here today. Obviously the horses would have drawn rather large field guns up to the battle area, but these were all pulled by vehicles such as this, which is absolutely incredible to look at. Armed to the teeth. This is what they call a half track. So a tank would have the track that goes the full length of the vehicle. A half track has got the track at the back end of it, and at the front it's still got your wheels. Bet that's worth a few bob, that's for sure. You see the size of the shells and what they would have weighed. The classic British Tommy's camp. Having a cup of tea, that resolves everything. Some of your projectiles, grenades, etc. Said the wind's blowing about, so it might be a bit tricky to get sounds, etc. But that's your ration pack, shaving, etc. Look at, they used to have things like hard biscuits. So they were gone out on the battlefield, 24-hour rations, and then from there they would go back, get another set if they made it back to camp. Foot powder, that was to stop the likes of your trench foot.
Boys I've known and I've known some, until I first met you I was lost.
As it uses it, you can see the smoke coming out of the side. If you were about to attack, you wait for the smoke to build up a wall of smoke. You'd probably throw multiple smoke grenades, or even have them delivered by mortars or artillery. And once they're smoking, fix bayonets and charge forward, hoping the enemy can't see you because there's a bank or a clown or something. Let's see what that looks like. Signaling smoke, of course, comes in a variety of colours. You get it in red, in green,
I tell you what, his aim's not too bad. For me, I'd be like trying to hit a cow's arse with a shovel. I'm pretty much useless. Might do something out of instinct to get it close, but I suppose it's training. Sort of pyro you'd expect at a football match, to be honest with you. That's what they are.
But if we are going to deliver high explosives,
Yeah, it's a bit of a loud bang. Did make me jump slightly. Stick grenade.
grenades shaped like little block, egg-shaped grenades. But of course, more iconic.
Here's some mock-ups of your Anderson shells, which most people would have had in their gardens. If you've been watching what I do urbex-wise, you would have been seeing that I've been exploring the Stanton shelters, which are more of a concrete-based and made to size. You usually find them around the bases of your RAF stations, etc. These are the sort of things that you would have had not a lot of room. People would have camped out them in the back of their garden. Gas masks at the ready. Specialist fitted ones for the little toddlers.
Again I'll explain. It means you're the fairest in the land.
So these are your field camps of your British Tommies from the First World War. Just shows you a trench system there. Now, if many of you know, you've seen the vlogs as well, which I've done recently, there's the training trenches up by Berkhamsted, where the officers would have trained. It's great that they've got a chance to give the kiddies something to do. So there's a grenade throwing, an obstacle course, etc. This is your German encampment, basically. Look at the firepower that our troops would have faced. It's an MG08. Is that otherwise known? I don't know if it was theirs. I mean, someone will have to turn around and advise me. Did we have the Gatling guns, or did they have the Gatling guns? You know, the old crank the handle.
Training that World War I German soldiers would do. After Verdun, the Germans realised that they needed to really train with their stormtroopers, their Stoffstruppen. So we needed to ensure that they had the best possible training. What's the best possible training? Other than actually doing it live, let's have a one-to-one scale model. Let's practice over actual trenches, replicating those that they were going to attack, French trenches. So they literally at Sedan built an identical trench network to the one they were going to then attack.
And that's what I'm saying, very much similar to what is up sitting in the woods at Berkhamsted, is the British training trenches.
They knew through that trench system.
Regulations don't like it. So in theory, you've got 11 rounds in. The German Mauser takes 5. The French Lebel takes 3. So straight away, we've got an instant advantage. The other advantage as well is the German rifle, the bolt sits there, not down the side, which means when you're taking aim and you reload the German Mauser, you've got to move the bolt into your line of sight and take your eye off the target. This is designed that I can reload and shoot while keeping my eye engaged on a target. Clever? Literally, I can put it to my shoulder, second finger on the trigger, and I can shoot really, really quickly, which was something the British Army has done.
I'd like to say a bit about it, mostly on the back of the road.
Distinction in that it is, as promised, a live firer. We will be firing a live projectile. It's the only weapon here at our display that will be doing that. So set up in the corner of the arena to give us the maximum possible range. Please put your hands together and welcome the soldiers of the First World War with their Leech trench catapult. And to start the show, he's going to loose one off, so to speak, to demonstrate this weapon in action. I think we might... Go on, let it loose and let's see what she can do. And then we'll talk about it in closer time. Whoa! I think that deserves a round of applause. A splendid distance there. Well done. All right arms looks very stripped down. It doesn't have a gun shield. It is a pack howitzer designed to be broken down into a number of packs. And going at it fast and heavy. A fourth round is fired. And rounds complete. Ladies and gentlemen, the seventh round.
I had to pretty much grab myself a moment. I hope you guys can reflect and maybe, I don't know, maybe put the regiment that maybe your ancestors, your relative, grandfather, grandmother, etc. would have been in either of the wars. If you know about those, it's just that in the distance, just as we're walking around for another segment of this, they're playing something that I always heard my granddad sort of sing, was like, pack up your troubles in your old kit bag. And it just sort of, I shed a tear, I won't lie to you. And it's sort of, I don't get tired of telling his story of what he told me. I'll start off with the other side of my family. I have German descendants as well as British. So my nan, who is 99, at end of life now in a care home in Bletchley, she lived in Essen in Germany. Her best friend, their family, they were Jewish. The Nazis come through the town. Her best friend hung herself so she wouldn't get taken away, and her family were taken away to Auschwitz. And of course we know what happened with that, the rest is history. Growing up, my nan was forced, in girls' schools of that time, they had pictures of Adolf Hitler behind them. They all had to stand and salute. They were forced to do these things. My gran married a British squaddy after the war, who was my grandfather. That's where I get my American descendancy from, because he before then had emigrated to New York, coming on a boat. I can't off the top of the head on the boat, but they landed at Ellis Island and registered there as American citizens. So then go to the other side of my family, which are the stories I know more in detail of. My grandfather, he was enlisted in the Buffs, which is the East Kent Regiment, I believe it is. He was trained in mountain warfare and spent 6 months training, climbing up and down the cliffs of Dover, ready to go in the battle in the mountains. As the British Army would do, his time to come into battle would come, and they sent him to North Africa. He, along with the Allies, fought off the Germans, won the battle and won the African campaign. He come back from that, settled down for a small period of time before being ready to go out again, and this time they gave him his true calling. Many people turn around and say of some of the great battles that happened, the D-Day landings, etc. My grandfather's time was the battle he was sent to Monte Cassino in Italy, and he fought alongside his regiment, the Buffs, and to a man they were virtually all wiped out. My grandfather was listed as missing in action for, I believe it was 3 days. They found him in a field hospital, patched him up. He'd had arm-to-arm combat with German generals and had bayonet wounds all up his arms, but he went back and fought, and he took Monte Cassino along with a Polish contingent, and I believe it's the Royal Fusiliers. After that they were settling down, and an incendiary device went off at the train station, giving him terrible shrapnel wounds, which would end his fighting days of his war. But he'd pretty much done enough then, and he spent the rest of his war as not a personal guard, but he was a guard in the area of where Winston Churchill would stay during the war months. So that was his job from then on. My nan, from that side of the family, she was not so much land army, she was making shells, she was making Sten guns, which you'll see on display here today, putting them together, all the final intricate pieces. A lot of women were doing that around that period of time. Instead of pretty much growing crops, they would be involved in their war effort of their own. So that was their story. My great gran, because my grandfather, I got her war medal at home somewhere. I got my grandfather's ration book from, and his military bits and pieces. He never kept his medals. Like many people ever at that period of time, they turned around and said they lost too many friends that a medal could not replace, and so that was the case. He did have, like many of them at that period of time, they would have been put on what they call yankers if they would have done what they did. All coming back on the boats after the war, they were full of all their troves of war. My grandfather had a Luger, he had a German general's dagger which had like a bone handle, etc. The call come out, and told everyone that they would be arrested if they brought back troves of war, etc. So basically at that moment then, somewhere in the middle of our channel, there's probably hundreds of ships that done it. The seabed is littered with small arms, your Mausers, your Lugers, your machine guns, your knives, your badges, your patches, anything from that era, just so that they didn't bring them back into the country, which is fair enough, I guess. My great gran, as I said, I did have her medal, is I think it was just a military, not a military cross, it's like a St George medal. It's got the green orange ribbon, and she was one of these ones who would go around and turn around to people to tell around as they put that light out with a black helmet on with a torch and that during the Blitz period. So that's them, and with that moment I invite you guys to, if you want to, of course, maybe you want to reflect in your own time. I just think this is perfect opportunity with me doing this vlog here today for you to reminisce about your relatives and what they went through, and maybe like I do now, I bring it across and I can talk about it. It's my way that they never get lost in time. So if you feel you want to do that, tell your story, feel free to do so, maybe in your own vlog, or just say their name, what regiment they were in here. I'll be grateful if you could do that. Anyway guys, let's get back on with the action. We're about to have a live fire round.
Send themselves up and their crashed aircraft. Sometimes they be used by vehicle crews, because again a pistol is a small and handy weapon that can be used even in the... Now is an automatic pistol.
It's got a Luger.
Now with the revolver, there's manual operation. You have to pull the trigger or have to pull back the hammer in order to chamber the next round. With an automatic pistol, once you've cocked it as quickly as you can. 38 for the year 1938.
Just turned around and said it's a Walther P38, so I thought it was a Luger. A Luger has got a longer barrel on it. The Walther is the gun that is synonymous with James Bond.
So, let us see what our German major chamber the first cartridge, and then he's ready to go on. And what we mean by that is there is a bolt just above the trigger. There is a handle, that's the bolt. You have to grasp that, lift it up, pull it to the rear, push it forward to chamber around and cock the weapon at the same time. Pull the trigger and then repeat that process to eject the cartridge from the first one you fired and to chamber. Below the rifle, that contains 10 shots
British rifle right there.
5. So the British Tommy's got twice the ammunition reserve as the German.
It's having a few issues with that rifle.
Slightly stiff action on the bolt there. Dodgy ammunition. To hit your target, and that's because although it's a fully
Now we're getting
automatic
serious.
weapon,
He's got out an
which once you
MP40.
cock it and hold the
Always
trigger,
love
as long
those
as you hold
weapons.
the trigger down, it will keep pumping out shots. They provide the S and the T.
Here comes a Sten gun. This is what my nan would be building in a factory during the war.
Ordnance factories. That's Enfield. S-T-E-N gives us Sten gun. Single shot, change the fire selector into automatic. Oh, we've had a stoppage. Remove the magazine. Clear the action. There you go. When we were short of weapons, we were
Here
buying
comes your
whatever
classic
we could from whatever corner of the
gangster's
globe
weapon.
to try and
This is your
re-equip the
Thompson
army
submachine
that was about
gun.
to face
They
German
used to have like a
invasion.
circular mag
Thankfully,
that
the
went
invasion
underneath
never
it.
came, but
The
nevertheless,
likes
we were
of
buying
Bonnie and
whatever
Clyde,
the
etc.
American armament industry could
We had
provide.
gangsters in
We bought
America
loads
in
of
the
these.
40s,
Thompson
50s,
M1
would have
A1.
them afterwards.
If you've seen any of the gangster movies, so load. Make ready. And go on. Single shot, just like the Sen, and then you change the fire selector to fully automatic. That's what it's all about. You get your ammunition very, very quickly.
Here comes the creme de la creme of the British, the Bren gun. Bit of a daisy cutter, mows down anything in its sight.
We were working in Enfield, you take the BR of... A very accurate weapon indeed. You saw it fire single shots first of all, and again, flick of the change lever and you can go to fully automatic. They changed the magazines for this one to carry
German
the gun,
MG42.
one to carry the metal boxes of ammunition. And you do need plenty of ammunition through the mud, thereby possibly... Go on! Ladies and gentlemen, the firepower of the British and German armies of the Second World War.
And now an address from the Supreme Allied Commander, General Eisenhower.
Soldiers, sailors, and airmen of the Allied Expeditionary Force, you are about to embark upon the Great Crusade.
I've got one motorcycle combination, followed by a staff car, followed by a truck. The staff car could contain the German general, the truck could contain his bodyguard. We're waiting for him to pass the adept position, she can positively identify the general, and then, and only then, will this mission be a go. All full signs, stand by. Germans and knock on their front door. In your own time, carry on. Over. No, Stinky, that was off to the left. You're going to need to adjust your sight. Bring it over 25 yards left. Over. Keep firing. Keep firing. Over. They'll certainly be firing at you. Over. That's it! Go, go, go! Open fire! Yes, hello, on full signs. We've stirred up a rifle. Hello there. All things clear on your flank. Over. Roger. Thank you, merci. Out to you. Be careful. I can see anti-tank weapons being deployed. Watch your armoured vehicle. Don't let it get taken out. I say again, anti-tank. That's it, keep going. 242 on the right flank. Covering fire. Over. Hello, Stinky, go ahead, over. Roger, no, no, no. Keep pushing on towards the target. The general is on the objective. Enemy in. Right flank. Push hard. Deploy the machine guns. I must Nobody, keep going. What's that? Armored vehicle. No, keep pushing on, keep pushing on. Push on. Yes, I know that. Brown, is the position clear? I want to see that German general. March him out at bayonet point if you have to. No, do it now, over. Well, once again for the ladies and gentlemen.
Okay guys, that's going to do it for today's vlog. It was enjoyable, informative, certainly loud and noisy. Some of the bangs went right through you when we was down by the little bit of a battle by the lakeside down the bottom there, but got a bit of a wet bum as well, sitting by the water's edge. Didn't freak out the swan at all, that's for sure. Must be a brave swan. And with that guys, we've had a great time.
Nice time.
Next coming up for us next Saturday, easy one for us, is the zoo. Nice in central Bedfordshire, ZSL Whipsnade. And with that, enjoy the rest of your weekend. Hope you've enjoyed this. Hope this gives you inspiration to go out and do these sort of things yourself. It's great to feel as if you're with us by the side of us. That's what we want to bring to you. But these opportunities are there for you to grasp as well. It's history in the making, and a bit poignant with having so much to do with our ancestors, our grandparents, my grandparents, your grandparents. So enjoy the rest of your weekend. We'll see you in the movies. Bye for now.
Bye.